Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Liverpool Latest. I am your host, Matt, and once again, I'm here to bring you the latest news, rumors, and more involving Liverpool Football Club. I got a lot to talk about today. News involving Antonio Semenyo, uh, the club backing slot, according to Fabrizio Romano. In addition to that, we have news on a possible pickup from PSG. And on top of that, Harvey Elliott is becoming increasingly unhappy with his time at Aston Villa. Let's start with the biggest fish in the water. Antonio Semenyo has, according to a couple of different sources that I have read, and I've got it from IndyCala News, who I've referenced a few times. They were the first ones that I've seen break the story that he is asked to leave Bournemouth in January. On top of that, it wasn't too long afterwards that Football 365 also reported the same thing, adding to the fact that Liverpool offered $70 million for the winger. So I have mixed feelings about this so far. I like Semenyo. He absolutely rips us apart when the time comes. He was like Isak with Newcastle. He'd always find a way to score against us. Semenyo does the same thing, or at least cause a problem. So naturally, I want him on my club, right? So here's the problem, though. There's been a lot of reports adding to this, and everything I plan to talk about is kind of up in smoke right now, because a couple of reports from Fabrizio Romano actually have stated that it is very unlikely that Liverpool sign him in January, and adding to that Liverpool is going to be very quiet in the January transfer window. In the summer, it can be different. So I'm seeing conflicting reports. And I trust Romano the most because he's a name I see often cited a lot within the football community. So I'm willing to take his word over anybody else's within the media. That said, I'd be a little bit disappointed if we didn't at least try to make an attempt for Semenyo. The problem is, what are we going to do with him? We have absolutely no way of using the guys that we already have properly from the summer transfer window. How do we expect to use the striker from Bournemouth to do the exact same thing, especially with our poor track record? And I'd like to add a couple things more that Romano said about the situation. He said, I don't think it's going to be a mid-season departure. Liverpool will be quiet in January. For the summer, it can be different. So he doesn't think that Semenyo is going to get signed by Liverpool in January. I don't know where he could wind up. There's a couple other experts that say Chris Waddle, who is a former England and Newcastle winger, he added that Semenyo is the best winger in the Premier League right now. And this just hurts my soul a little bit, man. Waddle believes that the 24-year-old could even fit at Manchester United, calling him a real spark who, quote, drives at defenders and scores great goals. No lie there, but the idea of Semenyo signing to United just irks me in my soul, for obvious reasons. So it's really more or less a tug of war between a couple of different clubs. Liverpool, United, maybe a couple of other ones are added to the list. I haven't seen any massive reports on that, but we know Liverpool is definitely a name, and United. So where do we go from here? No idea. I don't think they're going to pick him up. I think the more news I've been seeing about it throughout the day today, the less likely I feel, or the less confident I feel, I should say, that Liverpool will pick up Semenyo, because we're already having enough trouble using the players we have already. What makes us think adding another striker to the list is going to do us any different? Speaking of that, I'd like to touch on something else here, which is actually perfect, considering it's a perfect segue, if you ask me. Fabrizio Romano also talked about Liverpool backing Arne Slot despite the poor league performances. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure how I feel about this. I want to believe Slot is the guy. There are many reports that I've seen covering this exact story saying that Liverpool thinks he's the guy. It's just a matter of trying to fix everything right now. There's a direct quote somewhere from Romano saying that Liverpool keep believing Arne Slot is the right man for this job, is the right man to fix the situation, is the right man to help this team perform after many signings, after many changes, after many different things compared to last season, which is true. Lots of things have changed and since last season, and it's a matter of trying to adjust to those changes. And so Liverpool maintain confidence in the manager. I won't lie to you. It would be a different story if we didn't have such poor performances in such a constricted span of time, given what happened to us on that five game losing streak, the couple of successes we had against Madrid and Villa, and all going back to normal again with the Man City loss this past weekend. So I don't know where the disconnect is between very well put together games and forms in Champions League games versus Premier League games. I'm not really sure where the disconnect is. And I know I've been talking about how we need to focus more on the Champions League at this point because I believe the league is lost. Unfortunately, I would have liked to have a repeat or at least be in the top 3, but it seems like that's unlikely at the moment given all the very stiff competition that we have been facing. And more or less the competition we have within ourselves, where we beat ourselves on a daily basis, allowing our opposing teams to beat us as well. So I want to say that Slot is the guy. I want to believe everything that Fabrizio Romano is saying. That said, there's a lot that needs to get done. Of course, there's the contract updates I've been talking about all week between Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, Konate, etc. The possible signings, which I'll get to another one in a second. You know, we've been eyeing Semenyo, clearly. We have another guy from PSG that we're looking to sign as well. So, and it seems like they have no backup plan either, which kind of worries me. Like, obviously, I believe without a shadow of a doubt the Jurgen Klopp rumors that happened a couple weeks ago were complete bullshit. I don't believe he'll ever manage the club again, at least not to a big extent like he had for all the years he did. But it all depends on what's going on with these contract signings. If we can land the contract signings and pick and keep Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and Konate, I think I'd have a little bit more faith in what Slot's doing. But until I see concrete evidence and until I see concrete news of this, I have no other way to feel than to feel unrest about the situation as it is ongoing. And if my tone during these conversations speaks otherwise to you as very monotone and stern, deep down, I'm very worried. As a fan, I am afraid. I truly am afraid in the sense where this season can very well make or break what we do in the future. And I'm not just talking about signings, I'm talking about everything from a manager's perspective and just more constant change that I don't think the fans are really ready for at this point in time. Speaking of change, we're eyeing another guy from PSG. His name is Vitinha, and I am unfamiliar with his game, personally speaking. I'd have to educate myself better at that. But it seems as though his rise within PSG and the transfer storm brewing around him, he's become Europe's most sought-after midfielders after the stellar season that he's been having. And, of course, he drew third in the Ballon d'Or. I always realize how I say that. I don't even realize how to say it. But I try the best that I can. He's even touted as the brain of PSG's midfield. So that's how well That's how good this man is. Okay? There's a couple of people that are eyeing him. Naturally, if this is the entirety of Europe looking for him, Real Madrid is a top choice. With it's pretty much, how do I say, a no-brainer considering they feel he's a natural heir to Luka Modric on their team. The only problem is that his contract runs up until 2029, and they are, it seems like Madrid and possibly Liverpool too, are aware of an unofficial release clause in the region of $90 million to $100 million. Here's where Liverpool comes into play here. They offered him, or at least the record offer right now is $130 million. According to Caught Offside, that's the bid that they are preparing for him as early as January. And it would be one of the most expensive signings in club history. And honest to God, I hate reading numbers like that because for the first few years of me being a fan of Liverpool, we couldn't get signings to save our lives, it seems. All the fans were talking about how they needed to pick up more talent for Klopp to use. And for some reason, ownership did not want to shell out that money. Now, Klopp is gone. We've won the Premier League. Now we want to start throwing around money like there's no tomorrow. Like, money's just an object. I have a problem with the fact that now they care about signing big stars throughout the game of football. So, I also see this little note here that says Arne Slot's side view Vitinha as a missing metronome. Whatever the fuck that means. A technical leader who can control tempo, dictate possession, and bring stability to a team struggling for rhythm. In the midfield, I 100% agree. I don't feel like our midfield is bad, but it's definitely not up to par with what I am used to seeing with them. McAllister has been very inconsistent, only just now starting to come back to form on a little bit. Wirtz, as I've talked about several times now, is inconsistent as all hell. Szoboszlai and Gravenberch are probably our best guys, without a shadow of a doubt, and which is why it's so urgent that we sign them, in my opinion. So I think just adding another name like Vitinha to the mix could cause, one, issues in the sense where now there's competition for the other players who are, say, subs like Curtis Jones or Endo or anyone else in that realm. I don't know if adding another name really makes all the difference because, as we've seen with Isak, at least so far, just because we add a big name doesn't mean that we have the chemistry. And that's the problem that we are currently facing, is that the team has no chemistry. So why add another player who's unfamiliar working with the players within the team already? So, and I've also seen stuff about the motivation to fix the midfield, as I've talked about just now. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it can be done by adding another name. I think the striking is really where we need to focus on, and the defensive side of things. We never really properly replaced the people we lost in that regard. We really didn't miss a whole lot of people on the midfield side of things. Everybody's more or less the same for the most part. So I'm not really sure where this whole midfield rebuild that I'm reading here in my notes is coming from, personally speaking. Luckily, PSG's position is saying that they have no intention of selling him to begin with, as he is indispensable and untouchable for the foreseeable future, especially this season. So we'll just have to find out what happens there, because that could be a very, if the Semenyo battle is something that you've been eyeing for a while and thinking that this is going to be interesting, as well as some of the other names I brought up throughout the course of the last few episodes of Liverpool Latest, I can only imagine what that one's going to be like as time progresses, and I'll be sure to update you to the best of my ability. And last but certainly not least, Building off a previous story I talked about a few episodes ago, Harvey Elliott continues to not be happy with his position in Aston Villa, especially considering the news that leaked about the manager basically shitting on his effort. So, and I feel like those two kind of coincided with each other a little bit from some reports that I've seen. I find it very odd that when I initially talked about it, that the manager was so open and honest about him not feeling like he was up to par. So it's difficult for me to swallow because I like Harvey. I have my problems with Harvey, but I like Harvey. And at this point, I don't see him being in Villa a whole lot longer, especially the remainder of the season. I would personally like to see him come back home. You know, I talk about this midfield rebuild. Nobody knows the midfield better than Harvey Elliott. He can be as a midfielder or he could be a striker. So he fits more within a Liverpool system, not a Villa system. So I don't understand why Villa is being so hesitant to use him so much, because according to this number here, the 22-year-old midfielder has just managed 98 minutes of total Premier League play. And he's only started in one match. And I think, if I remember correctly, there's still a clause that he has to appear a certain number of times throughout the course of the season for him to officially be signed by Villa. And by the looks of things, that's not happening anytime soon. So as disappointing as that would be as a fan of his, that he didn't get picked up, I would not mind taking him back, because at least he will be, we can be mad at him for not playing up to par that we think he is, or that we know that he can play up to par, and not have to worry about facing him. I mean, again, I'll mention the social media post or the Instagram story, whatever it was, of him watching the game from somewhere and putting a heart on there, assuming that it meant "I love you, Liverpool," like good luck type of thing, which I can only imagine is adding fuel to the fire behind the scenes. I can't confirm that, but I do believe that that is the case as to why Villa is having a bit of a small beef with Harvey Elliott. So we'll just have to see where it goes from there. I know Liverpool's closely monitoring it, and it definitely could. They believe that his limited minutes could stall the development that he is currently trying to undergo at a different club. So I don't blame him for being frustrated, especially with that news that broke a few days ago about Emery saying that he doesn't see a whole lot of him sometimes in training to even put him in games. So not a good sign for young Harvey Elliott. I thank you guys for watching today's video, and I appreciate the fact that you are here. Please feel free to subscribe and let me know how I did, and if you have any thoughts about some of the news stories I covered today. And feel free to join the Liverpool Nation, excuse me, the Liverpool Latest Nation, and I'd be more than happy to accept you as part of the crew. Because as always, when you're a Red, you never walk alone.